Welcome back, it's me, Darren Van Dam, and in less time than you normally spend scrolling for something to watch, I'm going to tell you about the best stuff that just released on Prime Video and is coming to Prime Video throughout November. As usual, this list is going to include some deep cuts, some movies you've probably never heard of, as well as a handful of huge franchises coming to Prime Video this month, plus a bunch of brand new stuff releasing throughout the month of November. But some titles that were already added on November 1st include Dom Hemingway.
Only use a gun to hold up a place, or threaten someone, or rob them, or pistol whip them, or scare them, but no hunting.
This is a movie starring Jude Law as a gangster recently released from prison. But this isn't really a gangster movie. Rather, he's playing this sort of hardened, cockneyed gangster, yet this is really a drama about him being reintroduced into society. And it's not as dry as it sounds. There are criminal elements, but if you go into this one expecting a gangster flick, I think you'll be disappointed. If you go into it just expecting an amazing performance from Jude Law, then you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Believe it or not, I've got two underrated Tom Cruise flicks on this list, two of his most underrated movies. They just recently added Valkyrie. This is the true story of a failed assassination attempt on Hitler, where high-ranking Nazis close to him attempted to kill him. Tom Cruise plays the lead here. There's a little bit of action in this, but also some just really tense moments. To me, this kind of stands out in the genre, and it also stands out as a Tom Cruise movie. It doesn't seem like the type of thing he would normally do, but this movie actually works pretty well. And then he actually did a romantic comedy that is loaded with fantastic stunt work that was just criminally underrated when it released, Night and Day.
I can't see!
You are doing great!
Get out of the way!
Open the door! Open the door, June! Open the door, June! A beautiful dress, by the way.
This is actually a romantic comedy, but it is absolutely packed with action, making this a top-notch pick for anyone that loves Tom Cruise action movies, but maybe needs to compromise one night with a romantic comedy. You get both in this movie, and they're both top-notch. Like I said, the stunt work is fantastic. This is just a fun, wild movie. And the romance element is not too derivative or gushy. It's just kind of perfect and a fun date night movie. Another rom-com with a very different tone that I still do highly recommend is Love and Other Drugs, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway. Not only is this just a fantastic romance story, there's also quite a bit of sex and nudity in this movie, surprisingly so. It's got some funny moments, some high drama moments, and it's just kind of an excellent movie, even if it does feel a little bit old-fashioned. Two of my favorite but most underrated Clint Eastwood movies just recently got added, one being The Eiger Sanction. Now in this movie, Clint Eastwood actually plays a college professor who doubles as an assassin. There's quite a bit of rock and mountain climbing in this movie, and Clint Eastwood, from my understanding, is doing almost all of it. So this is a pretty loaded flick. Like I said, it's an assassin movie, a mountain climbing movie. And it too is pretty old-fashioned. I mean, it's from 1975, but there are multiple mountain climbing sequences in this movie that are absolutely breathtaking and really kind of a surprise for a movie from 1975. And then from 1974, they're adding Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. This is a heist flick that is incredibly unique. Not only is it a great Clint Eastwood movie, Jeff Bridges is amazing in this movie. He's very young, but just an incredible actor right out of the gate. But it's also kind of strange. It's got some slightly trippy, almost funny elements that are very unique to this particular movie, making it one that I've strongly recommended on this channel for years now. I should also point out they're also adding Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven. It's not a hidden gem of a movie, it's fairly well known, but it's probably the greatest film he's ever done. They also just added a long list of James Bond flicks, and by long, I mean almost every single movie. There's well over 20 included on Prime Video right now. For some reason, Spectre is not included here. The rights for that must still be tangled up, but Prime Video essentially is offering all the Bond movies right now, and that's not all for Bond. Prime Video is also going to be adding a new competition reality series that is James Bond themed. We'll get to that in just a moment. Some other big franchises include the original Batman quadrilogy. That'll be the first 2 Tim Burton movies and the other 2 done by Joel Schumacher, which I really just never liked. But Prime Video already has a big stack of DC-related movies. Batman vs. Superman, The Suicide Squad, some good flicks on there, and then they're gonna add these older Batman movies on top of that. Not all, but a bunch of Fast and the Furious movies just got added as well. In fact, a bunch that left Netflix immediately dropped on Prime Video the very next day. Last up for the big franchises, they've also got the original Jurassic Park trilogy, which, if it's been a while, I know these movies are pretty well worn, but they hold up to rewatches surprisingly well. For some historical dramas, they're adding Braveheart, one of the greatest in that genre ever made. One of the more underrated historical dramas they're adding, though, is Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. This stars Russell Crowe as the commander of a ship, and while this is a work of fiction, it is based on true historical events that have been sort of piled together to make this fictional story. But the way it depicts life on one of these ships and battle on one of these ships is top-notch. If you're not into this movie within the first 10 minutes, then maybe it's not for you, but I'm telling you, this one is a banger. They're also going to be adding Raging Bull and What's Eating Gilbert Grape, 2 movies I actually got the hankering to watch after seeing Killers of the Flower Moon, Scorsese's latest flick. In that movie, you get an amazing role from Robert De Niro, which gave me the itch to watch Raging Bull again, and you get DiCaprio playing someone with a lowered mental capacity, something he's done quite a few times. Gave me the itch to see his brilliant work in What's Eating Gilbert Grape again. Another movie I absolutely love is Killing Them Softly, a gangster flick that I think was sorely misunderstood back when it was released, but time has actually served this movie quite well. The themes in it, I think, have made more sense over time, and it's also just a high-end production. You've got amazing performances from some of the most heavy-hitting actors in the game. We're talking Brad Pitt, James Gandolfini, Ray Liotta, Sam Shepard, Ben Mendelsohn, and the list goes on with this movie. In some ways, it defies expectations, and maybe that's why it was kind of overlooked, or at least disregarded when it was released. But even if you saw this one, I can tell you, if you revisit it, there's a very good chance you'll enjoy it even more than you did the first time.
It goes up like a bonfire. I love
it. And then as we wrap up everything that they added on November 1st, if you want to just turn your brain off and watch a wild action movie, I highly recommend the newest Mortal Kombat movie from 2021. This is a live-action, R-rated, dazzling action movie that essentially just depicts what little kids do with action figures. You know, whatever's going on in their imagination, it's actually brought to life in this, again, dazzling way. Now, there's not good, solid storytelling here. This is a movie based on a video game, but considering the fact that video game movies are typically god-awful, Mortal Kombat actually does a lot of things right. Mainly, it doesn't take itself too seriously. On November 3rd, the day I plan on releasing this video, Prime Video is also releasing Invincible Season 2. This was a hit animated series, but do not put this one on when the children are around. This is a mature rated show. It's also a very highly rated show. Now, there's still a lot of stuff getting added throughout the month of November, but if you're interested in this shirt or any of these, I've got a bunch of new designs over at darrenvandam.com/shop. I will put that link in the description, but it's pretty easy to find. All the shirts are super soft, 100% cotton. They will shrink a little bit, but it's worth it. They are the softest shirts I own, and my wife and I went through quite a bit of trouble picking them out to make sure we're getting good quality shirts. We also went through way too much trouble designing all of these. I actually came up with most of the concepts and the artwork, and she did a killer job turning these into professional quality shirt designs. So if you want to support the show in any kind of way, shape, or form, buying something from the merch shop is a great way to do it. Again, darrenvandam.com/shop. There's a bunch of cool stuff over there. You guys have already placed a bunch of orders, so I'm super excited about all of this. But speaking of things to get excited about, let's talk about the new stuff coming to Prime Video this month. On the 9th, they add the BTS concert film that was in theaters earlier this year. Obviously, this is not really my kind of thing, but my kids might actually be into this as they've never seen a live concert before. And then on the 10th, they add 007, The Road to a Million.
I put real people into a James Bond adventure and placed 10 questions around the world. If they find them, answer them, they win £1 million.
This is a competition series from the UK. They typically do a pretty good job with those, and this is hosted by Brian Cox. This type of competition show is not really something that interests me anymore. I feel like I've seen enough of them, but with it having this James Bond angle, it's certainly enough to get me to check out at least one episode. Comedian Trevor Wallace has a brand new stand-up special called Pterodactyl. While Prime Video is not really killing it as far as stand-up comedy specials go, they only tend to release about one a month, whereas Netflix has one almost every single week. Prime Video does seem to be pretty selective with the people they pick, Trevor Wallace being very funny. They also had Nate Bargatze, so they do a good job picking out top quality talent. They just don't do it with a lot of frequency. On the 16th, they add American Horror Story Season 11. If you've been keeping up with that and you have not been following it on Hulu, where they release them shortly after they air on TV. Also on the 16th, they're adding Smokin' Aces and Smokin' Aces 2.
Your buddy Israel, little Rick Springfield, I guess. His posse, you know, they're all strapped. Or packing heat, whatever phrase is. I don't know what you guys call it. Strapped down. Hey, man, that's not yours.
Now, Smokin' Aces is an action movie I highly recommend. I love all the characters, all the performances. It's directed by Joe Carnahan. It's got kind of an incredible pace, and it's just top-notch stuff. It is a top-tier Darren Van Dam pick. But Smokin' Aces 2 is a straight-to-streaming, low-budget action movie. Now, in that genre, Smokin' Aces 2 is still pretty killer, but I only recommend it if you tend to like movies like that. If you love Smokin' Aces 1, there's a very good chance you will hate the sequel again, unless you tend to like those lower-budget, straight-to-streaming style movies. Now, it's not total garbage. It's got Vinnie Jones and a handful of other folks in it, and it is fun, but just is not the same quality as the original. It's not even close, to be honest. Now, I mentioned I'm already over the competition shows. I'm way over the romance competition shows, but Prime Video, even though we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here, they managed to do something interesting with a new show titled Twin Love. Now, if you're still into these shows, this one will interest you because it's kind of got me a little bit. They've got sets of twins, and they're actually going to split the twins apart into two households, essentially to see who falls in love, who's attracted to who, yet it's done as this twin study. So it's got an added level of interest for me. Probably still won't watch it. On the 21st, they add an in-depth documentary on one of the greatest running backs in football history, Barry Sanders. It's actually titled Bye Bye Barry. From what I've seen, it looks like it takes a look at his career, but also a close look as to why he walked away from it. And then on the 23rd, I know it's damn near a month late for Halloween, but they are adding Evil Dead Rise. So again, if you're a fan of Evil Dead, the new one is a wild one. It's more in line with the Evil Dead remake that came out in 2015, I believe. Meaning it is dark, it's grim, it's insanely twisted. The original Evil Dead movies were a little bit tongue-in-cheek, a little bit fun. The new ones erased all of that and leaned very hard into grim, dark, practical special effects, which kind of elevates these movies and makes them a little bit more cool. There's little to no CGI in this movie, and to me, it's a pretty wild setup. But I can see where people will either be repulsed by this movie or at least not quite get what it's trying to do, again, if you're not a fan of the original Evil Dead movies. They've got a new Amazon Prime original movie that actually stars Florence Pugh, Morgan Freeman, and was directed by Zach Braff. Written and directed, I should say. He also did the movie Garden State years back, and I believe one or two other films, but this is kind of a high drama thing. Florence Pugh plays a woman who is in a fatal car accident, meaning the passenger died. It was someone she was very close with. I believe Morgan Freeman maybe is her father or a close family member. So it does look like it's just high drama with maybe some funny moments, but if that sounds like you, it does look like a pretty killer, again, drama flick from Prime Video. But that is everything of interest that they're adding in the month of November. Hopefully you find some good titles to watch this month. Don't forget to go check out DarrenVanDam.com. Link is in the description. But I will keep making these videos as long as y'all keep watching them. Thanks for checking out this special Prime Video episode, and you will see me on the next one.